Hey.
Hello and welcome once again to the Guy Who Knows a Guy podcast special Potapalooza edition. So I always love Potapalooza because I get to meet all kinds of interesting people who just show up right here in the Podatorium and tell us awesome things and teach awesome things. And first up here in the Podatorium with us is Mary Gaul. And a little bio
Yes.
she sent
Hello.
me says Mary Gaul is a seasoned business coach, speaker, and host of the Leap to Success podcast. She helps women solopreneurs grow thriving, values-aligned businesses with clarity, confidence, and joy. As founder of Success Magnified and leader of the Leap for Ladies community, Mary delivers practical strategies, loving accountability, and a dash of fun to empower entrepreneurs to grow with purpose. So welcome to the show,
Yes.
Mary.
Thank you so much, Michael. I'm so excited to talk to you. I'm kind
Yes.
of known as in my circles as the person who knows a person, right? So if you need somebody, I'm the connector. So I love the name of your show and the guy who knows a guy, right? It's so important.
Yep. And it's a gender neutral guy, just because some people are like, well, what about the ladies? Yeah, the
Yeah.
person as a person is not as good a book title. That's
Right.
that's why
Exactly.
I do
Yeah.
it. um,
I always still say that. I know I got a guy, even though
got a
most
guy.
of my people are women. I still say I got a guy for you. Yeah.
Yeah. Everyone here in the Northeast gets it. It's people not
Yeah.
in the Northeast who are like, what? I got a
Hmm.
guy? What's that? Yeah, think New Jersey. It's fine.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about what you do with your communities and with your and I believe you mentioned you have a book. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, yes. So I am really here to help work with women entrepreneurs. I have a handful of male clients that come to me through referrals, but I mostly network with women organizations and really love to help solopreneurs, so those people that are in their business all by themselves, really take all those ideas that are spinning in our heads all the time, because as an entrepreneur, we always have fresh ideas and things we want to try, right? But going from idea in your brain to an actually fleshed out action item is sometimes difficult for people to do. So that's what I get to do in my job. I call myself an idea igniter. So I get to take your idea and help you flesh that out with an action plan, and then help with accountability, resources, tools, so that you can actually implement that idea and turn it into something, whether that's a book, a product, or a service that you're offering your clients. It's just so amazing. And I've been doing this for 10 years now, and I absolutely love doing it.
So one problem I know people encounter, and not me, of course, but I've heard other people have this problem, is when they
Yeah.
have too many ideas,
Hmm.
the ideas end up stepping on each other. So it's not necessarily a matter of execution. They know how to create the plan. They, not me, of course, again.
Right,
But
right.
asking for a friend. Um,
Yeah.
how do you recommend people deal with having too many ideas and getting, because every time the idea comes, it's exciting. This is the one. This is going to change everything. Didn't you have an idea on
Yes.
Monday like that? Well, yeah, but that's an old idea. This is the idea. This is the one that's going to change everything. So how do you help people with that?
Yes. The first thing is to get those ideas out of your head and into a piece of paper, a computer, a whiteboard. I use a big whiteboard. And so what I do with my clients is we just do what I call a brain dump, right? So tell me everything that you want to do with your business. What are your thoughts? What are your ideas? All those sticky notes you have lying around, the 4,000 spiral notebooks you've got ideas laying in. Let's pick those top 10 and then really start to break them down. What does that look like to implement it? Do you need to make money from this? How quickly do you need to make money from this, right? So just by me taking what their idea is, sometimes by the time they just even say it out loud, they're like, no, I don't want to do that, right? Let's take that off the list. So just getting it out of your head where it's spinning and taking up energy into some kind of a list, and then start working through and prioritizing that list. So looking at money, looking at resources, how long would it take me to implement this? Do I have the resources I need? Those kind of things. So just starting to ask questions about each one of those, then we can kind of filter and prioritize. Okay, instead of moving all 12 of these forward at the same time, let's pick two and let's get those completed and implemented, right? One at a time. And then we can get to the other 8 that are still on the list, right? But I think sometimes it's hard for us to, because we love all of our children equally, right? As a mom, I can say that. It's hard to choose which one, and not really evaluating which one might fit the needs of your business first.
That makes sense. And so it's about figuring out which ones are the most important, what resources are going to take, and focusing on them. And I think one thing I like about that is I think one of the fears is you got the idea in your head, and what if you forget? What if you lose momentum? What if you lose the energy? I got to do it right now.
Right,
At least
right.
that's what people tell me. So again, not me,
Yes.
other people.
Yeah. And sometimes, we get impulsive and we're like, oh, I had this idea in the shower this morning, so I'm going to sit down at my work. I'm going to sit down at my computer and I'm going to go buy the URL. I'm going to build a website. I'm going to do all this stuff. And you spend a whole day working on this idea and you haven't really thought it through. It's like, well, does anybody even want this thing? Is there a market out there? It's like just because you thought it was a great idea doesn't mean you should spend a whole day or hours or resources, right, trying to pursue that unless it fits in with your whole, a holistic approach to what you're trying to do in your business.
I did not come on this podcast to be called out like this.
Right. I know. You're not alone. You're not the only one, right? It may seem like, how does she know what I'm doing, right? Is she watching me? Everybody does it. So, including me.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's one of the challenges, especially for people who are used to working for someone else,
Yes.
is when you have an idea, there's natural friction on it. Your boss has to get on board with it. Someone else, usually someone has to go along with it. You can't just execute. And so all of a sudden, when you're working for yourself, you're the boss, which means there's no friction. There's no one to stop you and say, whoa, you can't set up that website today. You were supposed to be building the landing page today. That was the plan.
Right.
What happened to the plan? And
yes.
Yeah.
Or sometimes you're supposed to be sending the invoices out that you need to get paid to get money in the door, right? And so if that's one of your kind of, you don't like dealing with the money or those kind of things, which a lot of small business owners don't, they're always on to the next thing and the next thing. And rather than closing the business that they currently have, closing the sale, if you will, not closing the business, but closing the sale, then, they're on to the next idea and they don't really give things a chance to kind of take hold and earn some money. So I see that happen as well. They're always just jumping to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing without giving the first thing they built enough runway to really take off. So that can be a hindrance to small business owners as well. Too much freedom, right? So I like to say I provide loving accountability. I'm not a drill sergeant kind of business coach. But I do hold you accountable. If you said you were going to do something this month and then we talk the next time we talk and you're like, oh, well, I didn't do that, but I did these 3 other things. I'm going to have a conversation with you about it, right? Because well, we spent a lot of time and energy on that thing and then you didn't really fully execute it or give it time to really get out there. So that happens a lot too.
Yeah. So I know you said one of the challenges is that they don't want to do the thing, and which is funny because you mentioned invoicing. Invoicing is the thing I like doing because I like collecting the money.
Yeah, getting the money.
Chasing after it, but collecting it.
Right.
Asking for the sale, that's kind of hard, but
asking
for the money that someone's already agreed to give. I guess collections, that's an unpleasant thing.
Yes. Yeah.
But, but I think there was a time when I was like, oh, I need to send the invoice, and I think I kind of shifted. Then that's probably a money mindset thing where I've shifted over time to realizing like that is receiving from the universe what it's already giving me. But I think the bigger issue is the momentum. So when an idea first comes up, you've got this passion, this fire, this energy, let's go. And then maybe 2 days later, that's faded. And how do you capture that and keep going and keep the next big idea from coming up and stay focused on the one?
Yes, great question. So if you spend time really thinking through that idea at the beginning, rather than just jumping in and building something, right? But if you ask yourself a few questions, why am I building this, right? What is it? What is inspiring me to build this service or write the next book or do the next video or whatever it is, right? What is really the purpose of it, right? And I think that's the step people forget. So you mentioned at the beginning, I've written a book called Vitamin C3 for Business. It's connect, contribute, and celebrate your way to success. The word connect for me is really that deeper connection. It's not about connecting to a network. We all know we need to build a network of people, right, that know, like, and trust us, that are going to buy our products. When I look at the word connect, I'm talking about how am I connected to what I'm building for my business, right? What's my why in doing this? And if you know that and something's aligned with your why, then that's the motivation to pull you forward through those kind of things when you're like, okay, I've got about 10 other things that I want to focus on, but this one's really important to me because it delivers XYZ service to my clients, or it will make an impact in this person's life, or whatever it is, right? So when you have that and you just ask yourself that simple question, why am I building this at the very beginning when you start to implement an idea, it can help you pull you through those kind of muddied waters, if you will.
Interesting. Yeah, one of you may notice there's 7 books behind me here, and
Yeah,
part of that is because one of the books is about writing a book in a day, so I can take a day to write a book. But one of the things I started doing is when I come up with a new project, I would write a book about it first.
nice.
2 things, I had to think about it, and 2, even if I only got 1 day in, I still had a book. So,
Yeah,
even if I never do anything else with it, I still at least have a book to show for it. Because what I was finding was I'd say, oh, I got an idea, and I'd set up the landing page and the sequence and the promotions, the reminder, and then if it didn't take off, I had nothing to show for it. I mean, I guess I could recycle
right.
that webinar or whatever, but there really wasn't anything. I was no better off. And so when I shifted to write a book to go with every idea, at least I've got a book. And I found sometimes I'll go back to a book I wrote 2-3 years ago and say, oh, the thing I need I already wrote that. It's already in this book. Look at that.
Yes.
So he's not necessarily solving the problem you're talking about, but it's more embracing that I'm going to jump from idea to idea. So at least I'll get a new book every time I got a crazy idea.
Yes. And I love that because you're capturing the idea, you're capturing the thoughts around the idea, right? And so then if you take that book and you turn it into a course or something else, right? Then you've already got all of your basic information captured in one place, which is great. And then, like you said, you go back to review it and you're like, oh, wow, I've already thought of this. Let me see if I can spin it into something else. Or can I take this off and do an offshoot of this, right? Or maybe it's time to re-promote that book because you've already gotten the book written. So I love that. I love capturing that in that depth.
And then I've also found that with AI, it's great because it's no longer you have to go into the book and then basically rewrite something to
Right.
I was writing an email sequence for an event I'm doing next week. I was able to take my guide to networking, because it's a networking event I'm running, and say, hey, for all the reminders, give a quick tip from the book. And so it just pull the tip out of the book, shorten it to 4 sentences, and it wrote all the email reminders from the knowledge base that is the book. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Love that. Love that. Yeah. And we, for a guy who knows a guy, we all know Chat or Claude or, those guys that are out there that are helping us be more productive now. And so I love that. And, it can even help you evaluate an idea. So if you have an idea for something new, throw it into Chat or Claude or Copilot or whatever you use and say, help me evaluate this. What questions would you ask me to see if this is a valid idea, right? And how I should proceed. So it's an amazing tool.
That's definitely good. Although the one they always point out is at least ChatGPT, and I think most of them are yes men, yes bots.
Yes.
So they will agree with anything you say unless it's explicitly wrong. And so unless you prompt it, I am trying to determine if this is a good idea or a bad idea. If this is a bad idea, I need you to tell me. Otherwise, I'll tell you that's a great idea.
Yeah, here's how. Let's go. Let's get started, right? So yes, we need it to play a little devil's advocate sometime, and you have to tell it to do that because it's not going to do that naturally, like you said. So,
do you work with people mostly one-on-one, or what's how do you engage with people and do this thing you do for them?
I work with people in a variety of ways. So I do one-on-one coaching, and then I have peer advisor boards for which are like mastermind groups, right? So I have 3 of those going. Some are virtual, I'm in Colorado, so I have one that's live here in Colorado that meets live. And then I do workshops and courses. I have a retreat coming up in Colorado in August. And I do the Leap for Ladies community, where it's an online community. We've got people coast to coast and up into Canada, our members. And that's really about helping build visibility. So we have a little bit of a networking piece, but really then we have our Leap to Success podcast. We have member video spotlights. We have blog opportunities. So really helping them get more information, more visibility, more eyes on their business is what the Leap for Ladies community is all about. So a wide variety of ways to work with me. I just love working with entrepreneurs because like I said, I love hearing an idea and turning that idea seeing it come to life and become something, right? It's just such a powerful process to be a part of.
Yeah, that's great. And so I'm curious with the origin of your business. Did you start doing one-to-one and then add the groups, or what was the genesis of your business?
Yes, I did. And I actually have been running two businesses consecutively. I just shut down my other business. I sold it off to one of my vendors, but I was running a virtual assistant company for the last 11 years. And I've been coaching now for 10 years. So running both businesses has taught me a lot as an entrepreneur. And I've started the peer advisor boards pretty early on because I wanted to be able to I'm a community builder. I'm all about that connection piece, right? That's one of the C's that I'm all about. And so I really want to get people together in a room and provide that space where they can have honest conversations about what's happening behind the scenes of their business. So I started the peer advisor boards pretty early on, within about 6 months of the business.
Okay. Yeah, I think with a lot of people early in business, they hear so many conflicting things, and one of them is, or one of the marketing pitches is, get away from one-to-one because you're trading dollars for hours or hours for dollars, and so you want to go to group, and they scale too early.
Right.
They've really and I'm one of those who fell for that. And
Yeah.
before they did enough one-to-one to really have a good sense of what people need and what the challenges they are, and how to put them together.
Yes.
They jump past that. So I love you talk a little bit your experience in the progression of your business.
Yeah, yeah. And in running my first business, I was always in the corporate world, never had any really thought about starting my own business, but it was time for me to leave my job after 10 years. And I was like, okay, what am I going to do? Had somebody recommend I start my own business. So I started researching what could I do and started the virtual assistant company. But within about 6 months, I was at capacity, which is a great problem, but still a problem. I could not figure out how to keep taking clients and not have to work all the time, right? So I hired a business coach. I joined a peer advisor board. And within about 6 months to a year, I completely remodeled my business model with the gift of time. And so I loved that experience of being coached and having somebody just help guide me through, see the things that I couldn't see in myself and in my business. And I fell in love with the coaching aspect and then got certified to be a coach and started Success Magnified. So, I understand what it's like to run a business by yourself and be a solopreneur and all the things we don't know what we don't know. And so having a small group of people you can go and ask questions of and not feel like you're, an idiot for not knowing the answer.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
those safe spaces are so priceless in a business owner.
Yeah, and that's really crucial, especially with there's I don't know if you know this, but there are some coaches who are more focused on money than impact. I know. I'm sure
Yes.
that shocks you. You probably haven't
Yes,
seen
I
them.
know. I've heard
But
that. I've heard
yeah.
that.
Maybe you've encountered one or two somewhere in the
Yes.
industry. And the problem is, of course, if your only exposure is Facebook ads, Facebook groups, and email lists, and you don't have that personal connection, then you get brought
Right.
into the slick event and the slick marketing funnel, and you slick slide your way all the way in and your money all the way out, and suddenly you're like, I just spent
What
a bunch
just
of money
happened?
on what am I doing?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah. So those things like having a good coach, but again, how do you find the good coach to guide you to the other good resources without
Right.
a good coach? And seems like an advisory board is a good starting point for that.
Yes. Yes. They are. I call them magical. I wish I could come up with a better word for them than that. But when you get the right group of people in a room and they're all there to support each other and you can come and ask questions without feeling, like you're dumb, or you can come and grab resources, or somebody that's just been through what you've been through can guide you through that. It really is magical. It really can save you so much time, energy, and money. They're just so powerful.
Yeah, no, that's great. So if somebody wants to connect with you, what's the best way for them to do that?
Yeah, they can just go to my website, successmagnified.com. If they go to the bright orange button that's kind of on the upper left-hand corner, they can hop on a call with me. They can download free resources. There's an events page there so they can see all of the upcoming events we have for Leap the Ladies and the Success Magnified group. So if they go to my website, there's all kinds of resources there for them to get started with.
Fantastic. Well, this has been a great interview to kick off the Potapalooza. Was it 16, 18, 47, whichever one it is.
Yeah.
It's been a great one to kick it off with. Thank you for bringing the energy, bringing the knowledge, of course, and bringing that fire. So thank you so much. Great to have you on.
Thank you. And now I know a guy, right? Who knows a guy? So excited. Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.